welcome to the 1000 Authors Show. If you're watching this podcast, then you get a demonstration in action of my inner dickhead and the fact that I have a tiny pinhead. And look, there's normal-sized Joe and my tiny pinhead. If you're listening to this podcast, that means nothing to you, and you should just ignore everything that we just said.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Vicky Fraser, and this is my husband Joe.
Hello.
Hello. This might be a rambly mess because I am quite frazzled.
Today is launch day.
It's book launch day, yeah. What are we drinking?
Fake beer.
Fake beer, hurrah! Cheers. I'm drinking Heineken Zero. Other beers are available.
This is one of them, a Bavaria Zero.
They're great.
Well, I mean, it's all right. It's not really beer though, is it?
I like it. We've just booked tickets to go and see the Life Lessons event down at the Barbican Centre on February the 15th.
Nice.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Marie Forleo, which I'm more excited about than Joe, I think.
I don't know who that is.
You will. She's got amazing hair. You'll be like, oh my God, that woman's got amazing hair.
Okay.
And we're going to see Bill Bryson talk about his new book, The Body.
I do know who that is.
Yes. And we're also going to see Richard Dawkins and the Reverend Richard Coles talk about finding happiness in the world with or without God, which I'm really looking forward to because I absolutely love the Reverend Richard Coles. I like Richard Dawkins as well, but he's less lovable. And anyway, that's what we are excited about.
Yes.
Well, I'm really excited about my book launch, but frankly, it's just been... Oh, yeah. I just wanted to thank everybody who has helped me today, because I recruited a bunch of people, some quite famous, some less famous but no less wonderful, to help me launch my book, and they have all stepped up and they've sent me some amazing resources. So if you buy my book during the launch period, which is going on probably till the end of February, you will get access to some of the great advice that they've provided for me, along with some other tasty swag.
Nice.
But yeah, they're sending out emails and social media posts for me, and some of the stuff they've said has just been it's been so lovely.
Very nice. Very warm.
It's been really, really lovely. So I just want to thank everyone, and I'm going to shout out to the people who have emailed so far. Yinka, love you, Yinka. Thank you so much. You sent an email this morning that made me cry.
Hi, Yinka.
And Jamie, hi Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Sent a lovely email. Jamie Veach, he is PR expert for small businesses. Who else has sent a lovely email this morning? See, now I'm going to forget people. And
You should have had a list.
I know, and I had a list, and I'm going to...
And you're going to find it.
I'm going to find it right now.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Julia sent a fabulous email for me. Thank you, Julia. Julia Brown does all of my book cover designs, and she's a wonderful artist.
Hi, Julia.
John McCulloch, the evil bald genius,
Hey, John.
sent a lovely email this morning telling people to buy my book, which was fabulous. Thank you, John. And Christian he hasn't sent it yet, but he's forwarded it to me, so I know it's going out tomorrow. He's sent a really lovely email as well, hasn't he?
Cool, yeah.
And then a few other people have promised that they will help me over the next few days, and they'll get shout-outs on the next podcast, I guess.
Sweet.
But it's just been fabulous. I'm very, very grateful for everybody's help and support. Anyway, back to the podcast. Joe, what are you reading at the moment?
Oh man, I'm reading The Wheel of Bloody Time by Robert Jordan still again. I'm on like book 75 or something.
But you're about to start reading How Long Till Black Future Month, aren't you? Because I'm going to make you do that.
It's just going to take longer for me to finish this bloody Wheel of Time if you keep putting books in the way.
Well, yeah, but How Long Till Black Future Month is a book of short stories, so you could read a couple and then read a bit more of your Wheel of Time.
Read another 6 Wheel of Time books.
Yeah, and then read a couple of short stories.
Yeah.
I've loved those short stories. They've been so good.
Yeah.
One of them was about pocket universes.
Cool.
Yeah. I am reading... Actually, I'm not. I'm between books because I finished N.K. Jemisin short stories last night.
Mm-hmm.
It's not yet tonight. But I'm going to be picking up The Outsider by Stephen King, which is his latest book. I don't really know anything about it. I think it's like a mystery thriller. So I can't really say much about it other than that's the one that I'm going to be reading tonight. I'll be able to talk more about that next week.
I got a bit over Stephen King. When I was a late teenager, I read everything I could find, and they were all like an enormous commitment and huge and very good, and I kind of just ran out of Stephen Kinginess enthusiasm.
They're not all enormous, because if you like read The Stand and kind of why can I only think of one of his books right now? What's another big one? If you read The Stand and It and you know,
it is a big book.
It's a big book.
It's
The
a big
Stand
book.
is an epic book. If you read those back to back, then yeah, that's quite
That's
a lot of Stephen King all in one go.
Yeah, I kind of did maybe a year of just like massive, foot thick
did
Stephen
that as
King
well.
books.
But you know, speaking of massive books, did you know that there's somebody out there who chops big books in half to make them more portable?
I've seen such a thing done. It's quite rude.
I am not on board with that at all. I mean, there's a certain practicality about it, but nah. Anyway, Stephen King does a lot of short stories as well. His books
but
of
he
short
does.
stories
But
are
he
good.
does them in big books. You get a big book of short stories.
You can get them on Kindle. Anyway, my non-fiction book that I'm reading, I'm still reading as of this recording, The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. I've almost finished it, but I've already started doing stuff from that because when I read non-fiction books, I always want to not just read them, I want to use them.
Do them.
And one of the things that we've done, I was about to wave it in people's faces, but it's not in my office.
Not with an armoury.
No, it's we made a picture book, didn't we?
We did.
And it was really good fun, and it's a really lovely thing.
Really good thing.
And if
Well worth
you
doing.
saw Flamingo Friday, I don't know if I'm going to do it tomorrow, which will be last Friday if you're listening to this.
We
Or
really need to sort
this
out
Friday.
the future perfect past tense thing.
Yeah. Anyway, at some point, I will be doing a video featuring said photo book.
Yes.
But that was one of my little happiness things.
What's a photo book? What photo book? What are you talking
Well,
about?
you know how you just take loads of photos?
Loads of photos. I know how you take loads of photos.
I do, yeah.
Every time we're trying to do something or go somewhere or achieve something, you're taking
Whatever.
photos of it.
Anyway, and they sit on my phone, or in iCloud or whatever, or they sit on Facebook, and then you don't really look at them again.
You never see them again.
And there's so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to
Millions.
and every year I keep being like, I'm going to get a photo album, and I'm going to get photos printed, and I'm going to put them in. And every year I don't do that because it's a right faff. Because it's not like the old days. Kids, what used to happen, right, is that you used to take photographs and then you used to send the film off to be developed. And it'd take weeks.
And they'd all come back blurry.
And they'd all come back blurry. But you would take those photographs, and the ones that were halfway decent, you would stick in a photo album.
Mm-hmm.
You might have seen them at your parents' house.
Or your grandmother's house, maybe.
Yeah, great-grandparents, I don't know. But yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to do, because I love a photo album.
But screw that. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I just wasn't. And then I thought, well, there's these photo books, and then my hairdresser had this book on her table, and I had a look at it.
Hi, May.
Hi, May. And she did it as an app on her phone, and that's what I'm going to talk about. But anyway, we've got highlights from 2019 at the Dingle.
Just a dingle annual.
Yeah, and Dad Travels as well. But, and a little bit of 2018 because we were in San Diego.
Yeah.
So, anyway, what are we talking about this week?
Jeez, that was a long preamble.
It was. And everybody was promised that we were going to be talking about Inner Critic or Inner Dickhead.
Were they?
Well, yeah, because that's the title of the podcast.
I think at the end of the last podcast, we had no clue what we were going to talk about.
Yes.
Okay.
I promised them this morning when they received the email.
Right. Planning.
Inner Critic or Inner Dickhead?
Right.
Right. So I call the mean voice inside my head my inner dickhead because it's horrible. It's horrible to me. Do you have an inner dickhead?
We've discussed this at great length on many occasions, and I have goldfish.
You don't, though, because you do have thoughts in your head sometimes.
Yeah, but only if I consciously sit down and go, right, I now need to think about this. Then I think about that. And then I revert back to goldfish.
I don't think that's true. Do you know? I don't think that's true. I think you're messing with me.
Honestly, it's just...
Do you never, get sad about things or worried about things?
No.
Are you a robot?
Maybe. I think, perhaps.
Right, for the humans in the audience, I hope...
Send me an email if that's your experience too, dear listener.
podcast@vickyfraser.com.
Podcast@vickyfraser.com.
I should set you up an email address, joe@vickyfraser.com. Don't send it to that because it'll bounce. Unless I manage to do that before this podcast goes out.
Which you won't, and then they'll bounce.
Yeah. But yeah, I constantly talk to myself. Do you not talk to yourself?
Not really, no. Our internal headspace is entirely different.
Yeah, I want your
Hugely different.
headspace.
It's calm.
Although...
It's kind of empty.
No. I don't... See, that's not true. You're painting yourself as an empty-headed idiot, and that is not who you are at all. Right. Anyway, I talk to myself a lot. I spend a lot of time on my own as well. So.
You do.
But and I think a lot of people talk to themselves, especially if they're writers and business owners and they work on their own. And how you talk to yourself determines the quality of your life. Would you agree with that?
No, well, I don't talk to myself, so I don't know how you... I think how you think about yourself and how you see yourself affects your life.
Yeah, but you must think about yourself sometimes though, right? Oh my god!
What would I think about?
I'm writing the show notes.
5 minutes into, the hairdressers, I'm thinking, what haircut should I have?
You know the blurb that goes on the podcast?
Yes.
I'm internally writing it as I'm talking, and it's going to say, in this episode, Vicky discovers that she's married to an android.
I don't get it.
Oh, man. Right, okay. I don't really know where to go from here. I feel like you've ruined my podcast.
I'm sorry. Yeah, go for it. Crack on with your notes. I'll just look confused.
Okay. Everybody except Joe tends to have internal monologues and internal conversations with themselves. And probably not just Joe, probably other people as well. Probably marginalising all kinds of people with different ways of thinking. And for that I apologise, but, I'm talking from my own point of view. Okay, me and people like me have internal monologues, and I don't know about other people who are like me. But I tend to talk really cruelly to myself.
You do, and I overhear you talking about yourself really cruelly sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sometimes you mutter things to yourself.
So they spill out of my face.
And just these internal thoughts externalise, and almost invariably they're quite cruel.
Really? Oh man. I also say nice things. Sometimes I'm like, "Oh, you're awesome."
Do you?
Yeah. Sometimes I do.
I think
like every now and then I'll get my makeup right and I'll be like, "Oh, you look like a grown-up's done your makeup. Yay."
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Or I'll look at one of my poll videos and I'll be like, "Oh, my ass looks pretty good there."
Your ass does look pretty good there.
Or, "Ooh, that was pretty good. I didn't hit the floor with my face." Yeah. Or sometimes I will write something and I'm like, "I think that's really good and I want to show it to people." Because I think there's this belief, I'm going to go off on another slight tangent now, and this is actually spun off from one of my favourite YouTube shows, which is Hamyor, which is an acronym for Hillary and Margot Yell at Websites.
Okay.
And Margot was on my podcast recently.
Hi, Margot.
Hi! And so, anyway, they were talking about going pro, the kind of Stephen Pressfield War of Art going pro thing, and amateurs versus professionals.
Uh-huh.
And how there seems to be this thing where, particularly with writers, you have to spend all of your time berating yourself for being crap.
Okay.
It's like, "Oh, this is dreadful. Everyone's going to hate it." And I think we do spend quite a lot of time doing that. I know I do. I spend quite a lot of time worrying, and it's like, "Oh, this is going to be crap." But every now and then I'll write something and I'm like, "Actually, this is pretty fucking good." And I'll be really pleased with it. And sometimes I even come back a couple of days later and I still think it's really good.
Right. Not just short-term impressed with yourself, but
yeah.
actually...
I mean, the other thing happens the other way around as well. So sometimes I'll write something that I'll think is great and I'll come back a couple of days later and I'll be like, "Oh, that's real bad. I'm really glad I didn't send that anywhere." And sometimes I'll write stuff and I'll think it's terrible and I'll come back a little bit later and I'll be like, "Oh, that's pretty good."
Okay.
So, yeah, but I think it's okay. Basically, it's okay to think you're awesome sometimes because you are. But we don't really tell ourselves that very often. We mostly tend to be self-critical if we're talking about ourselves. We say stuff to ourselves that we would never say to someone else.
That is very true.
Oh, I certainly do. Anyway, there's no way I would speak to somebody that I care about the way I sometimes speak to myself. And that made me think, does that mean that I don't care about myself? Because that's quite sad. And I think I do care about myself.
Yeah.
But then I should act like it.
But maybe you put yourself lower down the pile than you should.
Yeah, maybe I do. So, we wanted to talk today about the effects that the words you use about yourself and to yourself have on your self-confidence and self-worth.
Okay.
And how quite often it's our automatic reaction to go to the negative instead of the positive.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of being like, "Oh, let's see, that didn't go very well, let's see how it could get better," it'll be like, I'll drop something like, "Oh, you idiot."
Mm-hmm.
And even just stuff as innocuous sounding as that will really affect the way that you see yourself and the effect it has on your self-esteem. If you tell yourself you're an idiot five times a day, you're going to start to believe it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I get very frustrated because I drop things sometimes, and it's just really annoying. And so I'm like, "Rah," and then I'll call myself an idiot. And what I should be doing is calling my fingers an idiot. It's a separate part of me. Anyway, but the reason we do this is because of the negativity bias.
Okay, the negativity bias.
Yeah, do you know what that is?
Is that to do with the fact that it's, if you're in your loincloth strolling through the jungle, it's better to assume that there is a tiger behind that bush?
Yeah, basically.
If something rustles, it's probably bad news.
Yeah.
Is a safer bet than saying, well, it's probably not bad news.
Yes, that's exactly what the negativity bias is. We are programmed, if you want to use that word, to be on the lookout for danger. We've evolved to be on the lookout for danger because otherwise we would die really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We notice the negative stuff first, and that also has a bigger and longer lasting impact on us. For example, there's been research done, cannot remember by who, because I made notes while I was listening to something interesting the other day. I didn't make notes about who this research was by. But there's research that shows that it takes 5 good deeds in a relationship to make up for 1 bad one. Okay. So if you say something mean to your spouse or your partner, it takes like 5 good deeds to wipe that out.
Okay.
Because you tend to focus on the bad and not the good, which is crazy. And it's like, there might be an amazing painting up in a gallery, but you'll notice if there's a fly on it, you'll notice the fly, which is ridiculous. If you've got a spot on your face, but the rest of you looks great, you'll notice your spot immediately.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what it is. And so, yeah, and it used to serve us, that used to keep us alive, but nowadays it tends to keep us stuck and miserable, and it erodes our self-confidence and our self-esteem. And we speak to ourselves in a way that is not useful and helpful. So, because this is one of my mentors, Anna. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
She's fab, and she was talking a lot about inner critics. She calls it Inner Critic rather than Inner Dickhead, and because it actually has your best interests at heart, or it used to.
Mm-hmm.
But she says that words are the building blocks of reality, and I really think that that's true, because we are creatures of language. We shape our reality with the words that we use. So you think about how persuasion works and how books have the power to, when you're reading a book, I don't know about you, but I see the story in my head, I can see people, I can see the landscape. So, words have the power to shape your reality. And the more you tell yourself something, the more you'll start to believe it, the more it becomes true.
Yes.
So it's super important that you use the right words about yourself and to yourself and about the work that you're doing.
Can I interject with my very short little story from the past?
Yeah, please do.
I once worked for somebody who said perception is reality, and the next day I stopped working for him. That's the story. Could not deal. He really believed it. He really believed it. But the way he was, because I was all about the doing things, and he was all about the making sure people saw that we were doing things. And I wanted to do the things, and he wanted to just get the posters out that said we'd done it.
Oh, well, yeah, that is bad. Because I was thinking, you can't just stop working for somebody because they have a different worldview from you. But no, that's unethical. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I get it. When you tell stories like that, you have to explain them a bit more. Okay. So yes, you've derailed me now.
Derailed. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Brains learn from repetition, and the words we use will create the reality that we live in. So if you're telling yourself that you're always rubbish, you're rubbish at everything, blah, 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 then that's the reality you're going to live in, whether that's true or not. To you, that's going to be how the world is.
Sure.
So it's really, really important that you think carefully about what you're saying to yourself and how you're saying it. And the more you repeat something as well, the more ingrained it becomes. So if you're in the habit of speaking to yourself, and it does become a habit, because it's become a habit for me. If I like drop something, I'm like, oh, you idiot. It's just a reflex. Mm-hmm. It's a reflex thing now. So I have to work really hard not to do that. And because that's how habits work. That's how brains work. So I want everybody after listening to this podcast to change the nature of the conversation that you have with yourself.
Make it nicer. Make it warmer.
Yeah. And
be kinder.
Yeah. And stop listening so much to the inner dickhead and start listening to your inner champion.
Mm-hmm.
because there are two voices, at least two voices in most people's heads. Because you, like I said, I've got the voice that's like, oh, you can't do this and you're not good enough, and all that stuff that stops you from writing your book or stops you from doing the big scary thing that could be amazing. But you've also got another voice that says, yes, you can, because otherwise you wouldn't even consider doing the thing that you then stop doing. So it's all about kind of remembering that you've got that quiet voice as well, the quiet voice that says, you know what, you can do this. Give it a try. And so I would like, and I'm always working on this as well, debunking what my inner dickhead says. So that's one of the techniques I use, is like if I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this, I will go and I will dig out one of the lovely things that one of my clients has said, or I will go and look at one of the books that's sitting on the shelf behind me that one of my clients has written, and it's like, I do know what I'm doing. I can do this. I'm good enough to be doing this. And I will find evidence to debunk. And remember what I said, it takes 5 good things to wipe out 1 bad thing. So for every negative thought that you have, you might have to go and find 5 pieces of evidence that shows that inner dickhead that it's talking nonsense. But it's worth doing. If you think you haven't got time to do it, make time to do it, because it's really worth doing. Because otherwise you're just going to get more and more, you're just going to get smaller and smaller, Your inner voice, your inner dickhead will push you into becoming smaller for other people as well. Because other people, quite often, this is kind of related but kind of a bit tangential. You know how other people sometimes, we talked about this before, the sabotage thing. People who are on diets, oh, just have a cake. Just do this. And the reason that they do that is because they are afraid of change. They don't want to see you achieving something that they feel that they can't do.
Yes.
And so you make yourself smaller. It's like when people, I get really uncomfortable when people are like, oh, you do so many things and you do them really well. And my automatic reaction is to go, oh, no. But then I'm like, why? Why do I feel like I have to reduce myself to make other people feel less uncomfortable, or to make other people feel some other way, which has nothing to do with me?
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with me. And it's the same for you. So don't ever make yourself smaller to accommodate other people's insecurities, because you're not doing yourself or them any favours. And I think your inner dickhead will push you to do that. It's like, oh, don't stand out, don't push yourself forward too much, don't
stick your hand up, don't be noticeable, don't
make out like you think you're all that. And that's the other thing, isn't it? It's like we're told that, be self-effacing, be humble. And there's a difference between being an arrogant twat and being proud of yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with being proud of yourself, and yet we really seem to struggle with it. I really seem to struggle with it. It's very difficult for me to be like, actually, yeah, you know what? I'm really chuffed with this. Because what if somebody looks at me and thinks I'm an arrogant twat? Not my problem. So, yeah. Right then. What's that?
Cool.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
There were some more words.
There are some more words, but they're all the words that I've already said, really.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I don't want to say them again. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the takeaway?
Well, I've got one thing for people to do, and then I've got a takeaway for them.
Oh, okay.
So, one thing for people... No, 2 things. One thing for people to do.
Things for people to do.
Ask yourself, what knocks your self-worth and your self-esteem? Because once you can recognise that, then you'll recognise what triggers your inner dickhead to start piping up with you're not good enough and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what knocks you? For me, for example, it's when people are short with me or snappy with me or otherwise less friendly than I think they should be.
Okay. Because it's all about you.
Because it's all about me, yeah. But that's the thing. That's the way we are wired. We are the centre of our own universes. And so if somebody's being short with me, it's obviously because I've done something. Whereas actually, it could be any one of 1,000 reasons, and it's probably nothing to do with me. Not everything is about me. In fact, almost nothing is about me. Almost nothing is about you. And that's a really helpful thing to remember, is actually you're the centre of your own universe, but nobody else gives a shit.
Sure.
So that's really cool. So ask yourself what knocks your self-worth and your self-esteem, so that you can recognise it when it crops up, and then get in there first before your inner dickhead comes in and tries to sabotage you. And the takeaway...
change the nature of the conversation with yourself.
Yeah. Be nicer to yourself, basically. Cut yourself some slack. Yeah.
Be as kind to yourself as you would like other people to be with you.
Yeah. If you're about to say something mean to yourself, think to yourself, would I say this to someone else? And if you wouldn't, don't say it to yourself. I'm telling me as much as anyone else.
I know. So,
right then, next week we are going to be doing...
Talking about...
Learnings from the book launch.
Learnings from the book launch. That was a snap decision. Well done.
No, it wasn't. Look. It's already there, see?
Yeah.
It is. learnings from the book launch, because today is my first ever book launch. I have written a lot of books. I've never launched any because my clients tend to take care of that themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I have launched my first book and I have learned many, many things, the first 10 of which are all exactly the same thing. But I'll come to that next week.
There are more than 10.
There are more than 10 things I've learned, but the first 10 are all the same.
Hmm.
So we'll be doing learnings from my book launch next week. But in the meantime, my book's just been launched. So go to... Oh, shit. Where is it? Go to moxiebooks.co.uk/Feb 2020 book launch.
Feb 2020 book launch.
The link is in the show notes. And in the thing underneath the video if you're watching the video.
Okay, cool.
So you go there, Feb 2020 book launch, and you can decide how many copies of the book you want, depending on how many goodies you want. You follow the instructions on there. You grab your book from wherever you want to grab it from. Forward your receipt to harriet@vickyfraser.com. Add yourself to the official and exclusive list to get the freebies immediately.
Good stuff.
And then wait for your goodies to arrive. I'll be sending them all out during February.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's the most exciting thing that's going on in my world at the moment. And then next week I'll be talking about the retreat I'm running in Fuerteventura, which might possibly just be for me. But I don't know yet. I'll be running one later in the year. If you've listened to every episode of this podcast, email me with your postal address and I will send you a little something silly.
Because you're clearly a lunatic.
If you like this podcast, please go and subscribe on iTunes and rate us.
5 stars.
5 stars. If you don't like us, other podcasts are available. Leave us a review. Please leave us a review. We really love reviews. Joe loves reviews.
I do love reviews.
He loves reviews.
A good review.
And it'll help people find us, and it'll help more people learn how to write a book and how to deal with their ridiculous inner dickheadness, and maybe give people a few ideas on how to read, write, and generally be a more interesting human. We'll be back same time next week. Thanks very much. Thanks, Joe.
No worries. Bye.